So in our last video, we completed this first section. Now let's move on to the next section. And remember, that was Dude 02. In fact, here I still have all the compositions from our Illustrator files that we brought in. And in fact, let's close this Dude 01. We don't need that anymore. We've brought in all those graphics. So now here we have Dude 02 open right in front of us. And let's bring in the vector graphics that are pertaining to this next section. In fact, that's all of these layers except for these bottom two. We already brought the bottom two in from the first composition, so we don't need to duplicate those. So let's just hold the shift button down. I'm going to click all the way down to Chair Dude, and I'm going to copy these frames or these layers, go back to Dude Main, and I'm going to paste. And by default, it pastes them at the very top of our graphics, and so we don't want that. I'm going to drag those down below my I know ... composition. I want that to be at the top of my line. I tend to like to have my layers arranged chronologically from top to bottom, so from the beginning to the end. Now we do have an issue here, of course. These layers that I've just brought in are occurring at the beginning of our timeline. They're all still selected, so while they're all still selected, let's trim their layer indicators so that they only come in after our graphics our first set of graphics have completed. So I'm just going to drag those like so. And let's also move our work area. I'm going to just slide our work area. You see I've got the double-sided arrow while I'm in that gray area, and I'm just going to drag those over. And let's do an audio preview to figure out where where those graphics and those words occur. So I'm going to hold down my command button and scrub with my current time indicator. Here you can hear the right here is where he's starting to talk about his second line. I'm right there. So let's again, I'm going to just trim those layers right there. Okay, so that way we don't have that overlap. Now the first section is still there, of course, and that is this composition here. We need to actually trim its endpoints so it's not overlapping the graphics, and that's the issue we're having here. So we're going to have that trimmed right to about there, so that there is a let's see, so let's scrub that. We can see that I know who I am, and then it cuts to the second section. And let's do again a little audio preview. I'm going to hold down my command button and scrub. So it's right about here actually that he says I'm a dude. So I'm going to again trim that layer comp there, and I'm going to just choose the word I. And where is that? Let's see. Did I? Yes, I did not name that one. So let's rename layer 22 to I, and I'm going to press the return button so I can change the name, and I'm just going to type in the word I, or maybe it's I'm. That's right, it is. So I'm. So that is where I'm comes in, and then comes in a little bit after that. I'm just going to stagger that a little bit, and then dude. Now we're going to have to do something with this arm, because this arm is meant to come out of the bottom of the eye, but it can't do that right away. It should there should be some delay, and what we're going to do is we're going to end up doing some masking in order to get that to work properly, and we'll do that in just a second. So let's do a little audio preview. Yeah, that actually works pretty good. So let's get this arm, and that arm, we can change the layer indicator, but in fact I think the easiest way to do this is actually to create a mask, but we'll do that in just a second. Let's take this guy. Now Chair Dude should come after the words are spoken, so we're going to and these graphics up here, of course, need to be that's cowboy. Let's bring those back here, because he doesn't come on until much later. I'm a dude. Now, this scroll work too has to come. We'll have him come on at the same. We'll have that come on at the same time as that. And I'm a dude, and that's coming on at the same time. Now, the other thing that we need to do is this Weathervane, again, we want that to spin, but I don't want to have to do all that animation again. I've already done that animation here in the I know ... composition. Let's go there for a second and just select that Weathervane composition, and all the keyframes with it are associated with that layer, and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go Command Copy, go back to Dude Main, and this time I'm going to paste the Weathervane layer, and I'm going to position it. Let's zoom in a little bit. I'm just going to position it right where that graphic is, and I'm going to hide the original Weathervane. So Weathervane, I'm going to just turn on the eye, or poke it in the eye, and there we go. And in fact, I want to bring Weathervane down below Chair Dude, so it's not sitting in front. And hello, how come that didn't? Weathervane. Oh, I pulled the wrong one down. That's why. There we go. The other thing is, I would like Weathervane, this Weathervane, to be, and I'm going to have to reposition this in our timeline to that point. So there we go. Now we want it to come on as there. There we go. So now, as when the dude graphic comes on, or the guy graphic comes on, the Weathervane is spinning. However, it's the wrong color. In this version, we want the Weathervane to be white. So I'm going to go and use a very simple effect to change that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Effects drop-down menu, and I'm going to go to the Color Correction, and I want Change to Color. I want to do this, and you can see that I have right here in my this is now the project panel. Whenever you make an effect, becomes the effects panel. The project panel is still hiding behind there. You can see there's the project panel, but now there's the effect panel right there, and it's right here that I can change this. And it says change color from, and I'm going to use the eyedropper. I'm going to change the color from that gray or that beige, and I'm going to change it to this white. And in fact, I want to make sure that I choose hue, saturation, and lightness. There we go. And that has changed that graphic to white. So now we have this working just the way we want. Okay. Now here is where we're going to have an issue. What I would like to have happen is I would like to have this graphic plus this Weathervane work together and animate together. And what I'm going to have happen is I'm going to have it just reveal itself in this. I'm going to change its X scale, and it's going to sort of like spin on, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. But in order for that to happen together with the Weathervane, both these need to be grouped, or remember, as we said, pre-composed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's give ourselves a little bit more room here so we can see all our layers. I'm going to select Chair Dude, and I'm going to Shift select Weathervane 2, and I'm going to pre-compose them. And remember, to do that, we go to the Layer drop-down menu, choose Pre-compose, and I'm going to call this Chair Dude. We'll just call it Chair Dude. That sounds fine. And there we go. Again, just to remind you, I've got this new composition with this new timeline. I'm going to close down a couple of these other compositions. We're starting to get a little bit messy. This one we don't need anymore. This I know ... It's still in our dude main. There it is. So don't worry. Even though we've closed that composition, it's still positioned in the layer stack in the main composition. And like I said, what I want to do here is I would like to change the scale property for these graphics. But I'm not going to do them here. I'm going to do it because I've essentially already grouped these two items. Let's go back to Dude Main, and you can see that in fact chair dude is now grouped with, and there's one more issue here. By default, whenever you do these pre-compositions, After Effects wants to create a composition that is the size of that whole composition. But that's going to make it a little bit messy for us. As you can see, the anchor point for this composition is now way over here in the center of the whole image. I would like this to be framed or clipped essentially right around these graphics. So let's go back to Chair Dude. And what I need to do is I need to basically tell After Effects that I want to clip this graphic to just that what we see here. So the way I do that is I go over to let's see, I do this area here. You see there's something called the region of interest. I'm going to click on that for a second, and I'm just going to drag, there we go, and I'm going to reposition that just so that our graphic is essentially clipped nicely. And there we go. And I'm going to go to the composition, and I'm going to choose this crop comp to region of interest. And there we have a nice crisp crop around that. Let's go back to the dude main section, and you can see now that has been cropped quite nicely. I think that's essentially where we want it, right there. Now this is where I'm going to reduce this a little bit. This is where I can start changing the values for the scales to have this spin on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip the clip the layer indicator so that it doesn't go right from the beginning. I'm just going to basically clip it right to the point where it comes on. You can see that that's where it comes on. And from here, with that layer selected, I'm going to select the scale property, so S on my keyboard, and I'm going to create a keyframe right here, right at the beginning. Now it's at this point though that I want this to spin on, and again what I want to have happen is I'm going to just change the X value for this scale property. So I'm going to unlink the two properties, the X and the Y, by clicking that chain, and I'm going to drag this all the way down to 0. And you can see how that's going to turn that. Let's click on it, and then I'll just type 0 in there like that. So at 0, it's invisible. We're looking at it edge on, and because these are completely flat, there is no dimension for us to see. So it is essentially invisible. But I'm going to go out a couple of frames in our timeline, and I'll just click that and type 100, and you can see how that spins on like that. And because the Weathervane and that the graphic are grouped together in our Chair Dude composition, they both come on at the same time. They're both being scaled, but the animation for our Weathervane is still occurring within that group, and so it feels like it's working just right. Okay. In our next video, we're going to work on this arm coming out, and we're going to use some masking.